firstly, I wanted to say congratulations. That's really awesome that you did that.
Thank you.
You know, it doesn't matter what your goal is. It's just challenging your body and going a bit further. So well done on that.
Yes.
And then when you say you have, because I'm as you know, I'm planning a 7-day fast in the middle of April. When you say you have salt, so in my everyday world, I take half a teaspoon of salt in the morning, half a teaspoon of salt in the evening, plus whatever I have on my food.
Yes.
Would I need to have more than that, do you think?
It's as needed. That's been my experience, that I only took the salt as needed. I didn't really count it, if I'm being honest, Jackie. I just kept it on a plate. And like I said, I still have this plate right next to me from the last 18 days, where anytime I just kind of felt a blah feeling, I'd get a pinch of that, stick it under my tongue, and just let it get in there sublingually and do its thing. So I don't count. I think you could do the same protocol you're doing now, and then as needed, if you feel fatigued, if you feel any kind of, quote, hunger pangs, if you have any kind of issues where you start to feel blah, that more than anything else always brought me back, like almost instantly. And then drinking adequate amounts of water. I found getting out in the sunshine and grounding my feet into the ground was very helpful as well. So yeah, I wouldn't quantify it so much, just to kind of play it by ear. Do you feel bad? Take a pinch of salt. Are you feeling some hunger pangs? Take a pinch of salt. Are you just kind of feeling like you want some food? Take a pinch of salt. It seems so elementary, but it's so important. And I love it. Like, I probably got in significantly more salt than you do. If I had to quantify it, maybe 2 to 3 teaspoons a day during my fasting. But it also varied. Early on, it was a lot more. Later on, it was a lot less. I think in a 7-day period, day 1, you're going to do your normal amount. Day 2, you'll probably do double your normal amount. Probably into day 3, double your normal amount. And by the time you get to day 4 and you're feeling so good, 4 through 7, you'll probably do your normal amount, maybe just a tinge more than that, and you'll feel just fine for the duration of your 7 days.
Yeah, I did the 62-hour one this week, and I found that whenever I was hungry, I just took I have some of the salt. Some of it is ground finely for cooking.
Yes.
And, you know, seasoning food. And then I've got the crystals for the grinder.
Yes.
So I just take a crystal and stick that under my tongue.
Yes.
That feeling of, I want to eat. It's not, sometimes it was when I was hungry, but sometimes it was just, I want to eat. So I just had some salt. My other question is, when you broke your fast and you just said you just had some cheese and some chicken, was that chicken breast rather than chicken thighs, or? It
was very lean, yes. Yeah, so it was more on the less fat side of things for the reasons I mentioned. Your body hasn't created bile in a long time during a fast. And so, yes, when you break a fast, definitely when you break your 7-day fast, your bile production is going to be so low. And so, yes, opt for the leaner meats to start. That's why I said I'm not going to really introduce kind of a more fattier source of protein until tomorrow, because I know if I had it too much too fast that I would have a little bit of the refeed syndrome. So let your bile production catch up. That's what I'm rebuilding today, having a little bits of fat in the form of the cheese and other sources and the nuts. But when your body's ready, give it a go. But yes, leaner to break it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And she brings up a good point, you guys. I meant to mention how much of our, quote, hunger that we deal with in the day-to-day is actually hunger. I'm beginning to wonder, Brian, that a lot of the hunger we feel in our day-to-day is actually thirst and or a lack of salt or other minerals that our body's just trying to get us to fulfill that, but we mistake it for food.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, obviously, you know, when you're feeling that way, you have those pinches of salt, and magically that hunger starts going away. So, yeah, I would definitely would consider that as the reason for you think you're hungry, but you're actually are mineral depleted. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what you got for me, man?
Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say congratulations. That is quite a feat, and I just was very proud of you for lasting as long as you did. That was incredible.
Thank you.
I also wanted to say too that I thought was quite interesting. You had sent me your ketones, and I was, when I was doing the fast, I did 115 hours, and my ketones were like kind of off the charts. I mean,
yes,
above 8.0. Yeah, and you had sent me a shot of your ketones, and they were I believe it was like in the 4s, I think. And so I thought to myself, well, geez, I had to kind of do some deep thinking here for a second. Not deep thinking, but I had to think a little bit about that. I'm like, well, you should have been higher. But then I'm like, wait a second, his body is using the ketones so efficiently. They're being used, and they're being used, and that's why it's not as high as mine. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
And it was actually 3.7, not even in the 4s, that I sent you the picture.
Yeah.
So, yes, so keep in mind, yours was at the 62-hour mark. That's how long you did it. Yours went super high early. Had I tested mine in the early, say, day 3, 4 of my fast, I probably would have been 6, 7 in my ketones. But yes, over time, the body was like, all right, we got you, bro. We know what this is. We're just going to use this and utilize it more efficiently. So yeah, people were shocked by that. And see, here's the funny thing. You were freaking out in the week I was doing the guided fast. Oh my gosh, I have a 48 blood sugar. Yesterday, mine got in the low 30s, dude. So talk about, like, that freaked me out even a little bit. And I've done a lot of these.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When as a pharmacist, I don't see those blood sugars unless somebody's in the hospital.
Right.
But everything is in context, and this is something that I'm going to be presenting to my team, because I guarantee you they have not seen these types of numbers. But then again, they're not used to seeing people that are fasting and that are in ketosis. But I find the numbers fascinating. And I'm just curious too. So when you broke your fast and you're checking your glucose, I know you had, I think it was 107. Did you happen to check your ketones at that time? And if you did, what were they?
Yeah, I did not. Today is what you're referring to. I did not, because it was so close after eating. But what was curious to me was the foods that I ate today, where I popped that 107, and it was very fleeting. It was 107 for like 5 minutes and then came right back down to like 80 something. So who knows what made it spike. I was moving around a lot today, and I know sometimes when you start to become active, the body will respond physiologically with higher blood sugar as well. So that's probably what it was more than anything. If I was just remaining steady state, sitting down on a couch, I don't think I would have popped a 107. But eating the exact same foods yesterday that I was today, it's amazing that it wasn't the food, because the food didn't bring it up yesterday. And yet today, the same foods, and it came up. It just goes to show you that when you start introducing foods again, I think the body kind of has to recalibrate. Oh, wow, we've been so used to like no food. Now we have, okay, all right, dummy decided to feed me some food now. So let's, kind of go up and down with the blood sugar until it kind of normalizes. Like I said, it's kind of been in that 60 to 70 range ever since. So yeah, it's been fascinating to watch. It's always fun post-fast to watch all the numbers do what it do.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, again, want to say congratulations. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jimmy. I want you to do another guided fast. I hopefully maybe in like in the next quarter or something like that. I loved it. I want to do it again. And you were amazing. Your panel was amazing. And I would like to do that again. So I'm putting you on the spot. I hope you say yes.
Oh, that's
all. Thank you so much.
That's a done deal. You're in the Fasting Clarity Clubhouse now, man. So fasting should be a way of life. I don't think everybody needs to do it, but if you're interested, yes, we will probably set one up sometime in the second quarter, so stay tuned. Thanks, Brian. Sergio, you're up next. What you got for me, man?
Hey, this is amazing, very awesome. Thank you for sharing. I'm really shocked at how low your blood glucose was.
Yes.
And how chill you were, how chill you were about it. I'm just shocked. I mean, you called me over. I would have been like breaking out the bag, checking some glucose, something. then I'd be getting you up a little higher. What was your or even orange or something? What was your sort of like glucose earlier throughout the fast and in other fasts?
Yeah.
You said that you were a little bit of distress. Like, what was normal? What would be normal?
Yes, typically early on in a fast, say day 2, 3, it's pretty normal. It's kind of keto levels, like 80s and 90s. By day 4, you see this significant drop down to 70 and even below that. When I've done 7-day fasts, I think the lowest I ever got on a 7-day fast previously was like 52, 51, something like that. So when I've done the 21-day fast, I have seen upper 40s, but it never got below upper 40s. This was the first one where it went significantly below upper 40s. And quite frankly, I was in the 40s and felt fine. I'm wearing a CGM on the Freestyle Libre on my arm, and literally 40s, I felt great. Like Brian was mentioning, I have the 3.7, 3.9 blood ketones, and so my body's definitely being fueled heavily by the fat. So the blood sugar itself, the reading itself doesn't freak me out because I knew I was replacing a lot of the glucose with ketones as my energy substrate. So that doesn't freak me out. What did freak me out was when the Freestyle Libre didn't give me a number. It just said LO. And when it goes LO, it means it's sub 40. You don't know what it means, like quantifiably. You don't know what LO means. You just know it's under 40. So I know I was in the 30s pretty much most of like a 20+ hour time period there. And at the same time, I was starting to feel bad in the midst of that. That was my clue I needed to end the fast. And yes, it was very tempting, Sergio, to go get some carbohydrate. I'm like, I got to get out of this. But I was like, I'm going to ride it out. Like, obviously, if I got even worse feeling, I would have had some carbohydrate to bring it back up. I wasn't worried as long as I still felt pretty much the same or a little bit better. And when I woke up this morning and it was still LO, but I was feeling much better, I'm like, oh, it's going to come back up, watch. And then within like an hour, it jumped to 60 and then 70 and then 92 and then 106. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm good. The body just had to adjust.
Great. Yeah, so some of our neuroscience colleagues, like the brain can feed on ketones, but it also needs a little bit of glucose. So
yes,
the rest of your body is probably getting on the ketones. But the fact that your glucose was so low is, yeah, it's probably why you're feeling like crap. Because your brain just wanted a little bit, just a tiny little bit, whatever reason you weren't making it. But thank you for sharing. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I probably should have had a little bit of carbohydrate, maybe like a half a sweet potato or just something that would have bumped it up to get out of that malaise. But I'm also a human science experiment. I like to kind of see things in real time and see what would change without doing anything drastic. I'm kind of glad I did, because now I'm like, okay, that's some future experience. When I experience that, I probably will try the carbohydrate next time to see if it gets me out of that. Thank you, Sergio. Appreciate you coming up on stage. And guys, if you just came in, you are in the Fasting Clarity Clubhouse. We are doing a whole reflection all about some of the lessons I learned. I just finished up an 18-day water and salt fast, and so many lessons all throughout this particular fast. And every fast is different. This one was the most unique one I think I've ever had, and I can talk about that here in a second. Raise your hand. You want to come up on stage? You have a question for me or comments? Would love to talk to you, so raise that hand down there at the bottom. Yeah, this one I would say was the easiest one I've ever had, physically speaking. So once I got to day 4, I've never had this easy of a time. I literally was not even thinking about food. I wasn't hungry. Like, from a physical standpoint, if it was just physical until yesterday, I probably could have handled this for as long as my body would let me. And that's amazing. Like, for me, I never back in the day would have ever thought that I would go without food for any period of time, thinking back to like 410 pound Jimmy Moore. There's no way I would have ever just purposely given up food. And the fact that I can go 2-3 weeks without food and not even think about it, like, that's a minor miracle.